Winterview back in his car with another brief dialogue after a coffee. So I'm full of pep. For his dear friend Annastacey. This brief dialogue is a special treat in that I'm following on from my last brief dialogue. It's like a part 2. A rare part 2. I got quite inspired by my brief dialogue earlier and felt I could say a little bit more. So here I am, saying a little bit more. In the previous talk, I used the example of the movie Star Wars to describe the character Luke Skywalker in terms of a journey that Luke feels he's on, and trying to relate that to the so-called spiritual search, or the search for self-improvement in some way. So I wanted to continue along that vein, that rich vein, and I just like Star Wars, so if I can just talk about that a bit, I'm happy. So we have a character, Luke Skywalker, who, as far as Luke is concerned, feels that he's on a journey to enlightenment, and he's been going through what he thinks are steps towards this goal. And now in the story, he comes to in the movie, he comes to a very difficult point for him. He now learns, after all these readings and speaking with masters and so on and so forth, that what he's really looking for exists outside of the movie, in something called the audience. He learns of a place where the audience exists, who see the movie impassively, and this becomes the goal, the ultimate goal for enlightenment. He learns that there is no self, and so the only way that Luke can conceptualize no self, imagine it, which the mind, using just his mind, is that he somehow imagines that there's an audience separate from the movie, sitting outside in a theatre somewhere, watching him do his thing. And so now his final goal, at least as far as he's concerned, is to transcend the movie. He has to get outside the screen. So now he's walking around on the screen, looking for a way out of the screen, right? This is where I think it's quite funny, and he's journeying, he thinks, to the edge of the screen, but he can't ever seem to get there. Like he thinks he has glimpses sometimes, like he quietens his mind and he clears his energies and all that, and he thinks for a moment, I'm getting it. This is it. I'm leaving the movie. I'm sitting in the audience. And the audience who is watching the show is laughing because Luke really thinks he's about to magically pop off the screen and land in the audience with them. And of course, as an audience member, there's no chance. It's ridiculous. No hope for the poor hapless Luke. And that's the plight of the seeker right there, the poor hapless seeker who's basically had their mind filled up with concepts about journeys and enlightenment, and you're going to transcend the screen, you're going to leave the world and become enlightened and special and different somehow, and that's, and you're on your way, you're definitely on your way to that. And these endeavors will get you there. And if someone tells you otherwise, you shoot them down. No. And there are other characters. This is where it gets even funnier. You meet characters. Luke meets characters in the movie who claim to be who claim to have transcended the movie. They are enlightened. They're claiming that they're sitting with the audience, which is even more ridiculous. These characters who are saying, yes, I am presently sitting in the audience watching you run around. And Luke's trying to, this is the mind, of course, is trying to furiously conceptualize this. How is it that I see this person, this is Luke now, this person in front of me who's transcended the movie, yet they still seem to be in the movie with me. How does that work, you know? And his mind is just totally bent by this. Totally bent by this. Like, he can't imagine it. And it's true, it can't be imagined. How can it be imagined? How can sitting in the audience be imagined when you're a character on the screen? And then there could be like a depression of sorts, a sort of, like a real hopelessness. I'll just give up. I can't do anything. I'm stuck. I'm trapped. And this can be an experience for the seeker on realizing that they're stuck in the movie, like they're really depressed. But even funnier is that because it's a movie, that had to be part of the script, you know. Now I'm depressed in the story. Now I'm playing the part of the person who's tried to escape the movie, but I can't, and now I'm forlorn. I'll never get there. And this limitation, this crushing sense of feeling trapped, or this crushing limitation that the seeker feels, that is the dilemma for the seeker. That's just another manifestation of that core dilemma. And the core dilemma always has been, from the start, from the get-go, is this belief that we're going to get out of the movie, or the belief that I'm in charge of my life, I'm the director, and I'm going through the steps that I think are necessary for my liberation from the movie. And all the while you do this, it's all scripted in a way, because it's the movie analogy still. And you can't quite get over that fact. It's this sense that you're autonomous, a sense that you have this control over your life, yet you're following a script. Even the sense that you're autonomous is written into the script in the movie. Luke senses powerful feelings of autonomy and he decides that he's going to do such and such a thing to escape the movie. You know, written by the screenwriter of the movie. Now I just want to caution that there's no screenwriter. The analogy falls down there. There's no one outside the movie who's writing the movie. The question still comes up though in the mind of the seeker. Okay, I get the analogy now. I'm a character. I'm a seeming character who's going through the motions in a play called My Life. I get that now. Fine. I understand that I'm playing my role. Yes, I'm a limited kind of character. I've got faults. I've got stuff that I could get over. I've got bad personality traits. I'm kind of unreliable. I'm petty sometimes, and so on. I totally accept all of that. Now, what happens next? And that's part of the movie. Now we have the person who is totally accepting everything. Now we have a person who understands the model. Now Luke understands the model. Luke Skywalker gets it now. He totally gets he's a character in the movie. He totally gets he's not getting out of the movie. That's it. Fine. I'm crushingly defeated by this awful state. Yes, I totally accept that now. What's next for Luke, you know? And Luke is now waiting in the story. He's now waiting for the next thing. He's like, okay, I'll just wait. I'll just see what happens. Yeah. So Luke is now waiting in Star Wars, and it's a very boring part of the movie. He's just sort of sitting there. And now he's like, fine, I'm just going to go live my life again. I'm going to go back to just doing whatever I do normally, which is farming maybe on the dusty little planet with his uncle and aunt. Although his uncle and aunt have been killed by the the Empire, so he can't do that anymore. But he goes off and he farms now. He's given up. Luke has given up the search. Now, it's framed as Luke has given up the search, but it isn't really that at all, is it? It's just the next part of the appearance, the next part of the movie, part of the script. He's just doing that bit now. There's just no escape. This character is built in to the movie, totally built into the movie. And even though the character can come to understand all this and totally accept it, maybe, and have grief about their trappedness, they're still in the movie. So so the question is, who or what wakes up? Who or what is liberated? The character is what's a good word for this? It's like a red herring in I'm trying to think of the analogy that magicians use. It's a distraction. I think that's the term, where a magician distracts the audience with a big flashy hand gesture or a flash of smoke and fire or something, and the audience's attention's shifted. It's looking, you might say, at the wrong thing on the stage. We're looking at Luke, and we focus so much on Luke that something else is missed, totally missed. Something is totally missed. Now, this is the maddening part, and I'm forewarning the listener that it's going to be infuriating to hear this. That whole thing, the movie, the characters are a light on a screen. So even understanding that gives you the understanding, okay, that's how it's unity, that's how it's all one, because it's all light on a screen. But that light on the screen has a very unique quality. It's awake. It's aware, you could say. There's no good word for it. It's awake. And it's often called consciousness, which is a really tricky word, because it has different meanings in different contexts. We could say you could get knocked out by being hit on the head and now you're unconscious, and then you regain consciousness as if it was lost. But the awakeness itself is never lost. It's never ever lost. The going back to the movie, trying to relate this to the movie analogy now, it gets really difficult. But the entire experience of the movie is awake to itself. The fact that there's a movie, in fact, is kind of a clue in a way. The fact of the movie, something's happening, that something seems to be happening in that awakeness. But we cannot, here's the question, how do we, if it's possible, separate the awakeness from the contents of what we're aware of in that awakeness? It can't be done. The awakeness, too, is interesting in that it's never lost. That awake awareness never goes away, ever. Not even for a second. Not even for a fraction of a fraction of a second. Never. And that can be validated very easy, or verified, I should say, very easily. That can be verified very easily. Think about the course of the day. Now this is, let's try and go back to the movie analogy in a way. Let's say we are the audience now of the movie. We're sitting in the darkness watching the movie unfold. That could also imply, in some ways, we're standing from the perspective of the light of the projector. The light is behind our heads, but let's just pretend for a second that the light of the movie is shooting out of our eyes. This is a bit of a funny one, but let's roll with it. Onto the screen. So we are the light. Yeah, the light is us. And the contents of the light is us as well, because it's coming out of us, you might say. Holding these concepts very lightly, by the way. Trying not to grasp too tightly to these concepts, if that's possible. I don't know. Maybe it's not. So we are that awakeness that's awake to the movie. We are the contents of the movie. And we are seemingly Luke Skywalker, all in one. We're that character as well. Somehow. The movie keeps playing. This is an endless movie of Star Wars. It's not a 2-hour movie anymore. It's eternal. So let's try and go back to, this is where the analogy falls down a little bit, but the light of the projector that's shooting out of our eyes in this analogy now, it never shuts off, ever. It seems to shut off when we go to sleep at night, but that's not the actual experience. The actual experience when you go to sleep at night is lying in the bed, feeling the bedclothes, sense of drowsiness, sense of heaviness of the eyelids. This is the conventional way people fall asleep, by the way. And then, boom, dreaming. Suddenly. There's no awareness of anything that happens in between the 2 points. And then suddenly, boom, totally back to you're in your bed next morning. Totally seamless experience from the point of view of the awakeness or the awareness itself. The contents of what you were aware of changed radically through that experience. It was drowsy in bed, late at night, dimly lit room, heavy eyelids, crazy dream, riding on a dinosaur, boom, sunlight, bedroom, morning, feeling like I need a coffee. You know, that was the wildly changing content, you might say. But the awakeness itself, the awareness of life or being or whatever, never came or went anywhere throughout the entire experience. And that is a clue as to what the subjectiveness is of one's existence, one's identity. I don't like the word identity. Well, the I of the I, so to speak. That awakeness itself. So now we can get curious about that somehow. That the character Luke Skywalker is just another miserable feature of the landscape. Maybe Luke will become a better person in the movie, maybe not. Doesn't matter. And now we realize that nothing in the movie gets in the way of that awakeness. There's nothing in the appearance. There's nothing that could happen in Star Wars that would interrupt the projection of the movie. If that makes sense. And so I often hear people talking about, you need to read you need to read a really good book on spirituality, or you need a really good guru figure to help you. You don't need a fake one, or you need to really understand this well, or you need to really get a grip on this. You need to really have a good metaphor to understand this, otherwise you'll get confused. As if confusion would get in the way of awakeness. Nothing gets in the way of awakeness. You could sit with the most crooked, corrupt guru figure being told the most horrendous drivel lies, giving up your money, being controlled and thought control, being miserable. None of your energy centers are open. Nothing. It's all crap. Your life is all horrendous. And it hasn't interrupted that awakeness at all. It cannot interrupt that awakeness. Nothing interrupts the awakeness. All there is the awakeness. That's all there ever has been. With a shifting, ever-changing, seemingly at least, content of the awakeness. Star Wars, back to Star Wars, rolls on and on with characters coming in and out, and it's day, then it's night, then there's a battle, then there's peace, then Luke's doing something, then Luke's getting older, then Luke's doing something else, then Luke's trying to get enlightened, now he's not, then Luke's got a head injury, and now he's gone a bit crazy, and now he's okay again, and Luke's lost all his friends, and now he's got loads of friends, he's lost all his money, he's got a job, he's got a great job, he's got a hot wife, he's got a cool car, he's got a big house, now he's lost it all, now he's surrendered it all, he's given it all up for God, and so on and on the movie unfolds endlessly, like an endless drama. And that awakeness, which is ever present, that ever present awakeness, doesn't change, doesn't come or go. The interest in the character from the point of view of the awakeness is trivial. It's less than trivial. Awakeness doesn't even recognize a character. From the point of view of awakeness, the whole thing is light. The whole projection of the movie on the screen from the point of view of the projector is that it's all light. This is all light. Flickering lights. There's no interest in the content of life from a perceived God or an imagined deity. It's just all the light. The whole thing is the light flickering on a screen. The screen, you could say, is that still ever-presentness. I don't know, I don't like going into the screen analogy. I just like the light thing. I like that better. The fact of the light is that ever-presentness. The light keeps playing out. The light never goes out. There's no experience of the light going out. Okay, I think I have hammered that metaphor to death, maybe. And now you, as characters in the movie listening to this, now you know something. Now you have some more knowledge. So now you're definitely on your way to liberation, to enlightenment. Now that you've learned the model really well, it's all going to work now. Okay, this has been X Winterview with another brief dialogue, a special part 2 on the Star Wars model, liberation. I knew I'd be able to work Star Wars into it. Yes. Comments are welcome.